Last week we started off with foreign exchange. If you all could remember, right? We did direct quotes, indirect quotes. Then we discussed purchasing power parity, how to decide whether which currency is strong, whether the base currency is strong or counter currency is strong. Right. Just very quickly, the first currency that you write is called the base currency. The second currency is the counter currency. And if exchange rate is more than one, it means the base currency is stronger than the counter currency. If it's less than one, it means the counter currency is strong, or the base currency is weaker. And if the exchange rate is going up, that means the base currency is strengthening. If the exchange rate is going down, that means the base currency is weakening. Right? And we also discussed pips. That is the last two digits of an exchange rate. Then we went on to bid and offer, which is the buying and selling rate that is quoted by the market maker. The buying and selling rate of the base currency quoted by the market maker. Right. So let's continue from where we stopped. So if you have any questions on today's session, you can always ask. You can always ask when we meet during a live session. Right. So let's calculate these. Let's work on these examples. Bid and offer, right? You have been given an exchange rate, $1 132.50, 134.74. First question is, what is the base currency? Very easy. Base currency is the currency that you write first. So it is the dollar, right? This is the base. What is the bid? What is the offer? Now, questions cannot be simpler than this. What is the bid? What is the offer? Bid for the dollar, base currency is 132.50, and the offer is 134.74. Okay. Right. So next question. Dollar yen 102.90.95. What does this mean? 102.90.95. What does it mean? Means, yeah, this is the bid and offer quoted in terms of pips, right? So it's actually 102.90, 102.95. So the question is, at what rate can you buy dollars? What rate can you buy dollars? And next question, at what rate can you sell yen? At what rate can you sell dollars? So three questions. Now the beauty of foreign exchange is there is always a 50% chance of success. 50% chance, right? There are two rates. You have to pick one of the two. Even if you don't understand the question, you can just close your eyes and pick 102.90 or 102.95, whatever. So 50% chance of success. But actually, if you understand the fundamentals, there is always a 100% chance of success. There is no way you can make a mistake with this. It is so simple if you understand the basics. It will never go wrong. At what rate can you buy dollars? Right. Now the fundamental thing is always assume you are the market taker. Always you are the market taker. Right? You're always the market taker. You are not the market maker. Unless the question specifically says that you are the market maker, you're always the market taker, never the market maker. Right. So you're the market taker. At what rate can you buy dollars? You can buy dollars at, yeah, right. First thing is first you need to identify the base currency. Base currency is the dollar, right? Remember the mango example, Cargill's mango. You can buy mangoes at the offer from Cargill's at a higher price. So you can buy the base currency at the offer, which is 102.95. At what rate can you sell yen? What rate can you sell yen? Yes, it's a little bit of a twist. When you're doing foreign exchange, the first thing is you need to assume you're the market taker. Next one, think in terms of base currency. Think in terms of the base currency. Right? Tell this bid by base and the offer. This is what you need to remember. When you do foreign exchange, you need to remember these steps. Don't forget, always assume you're the market taker unless it is given in the question. Think in terms of the base currency, sell the base currency at the bid, buy the base currency at the offer. That is all you need to remember. If you remember these steps, you will never make a mistake. It's very difficult to make a mistake if you remember these steps. Right? Okay, so going back to the question. You buy the dollar, which is the base currency at the offer. Then you need to sell yen. Now think in terms of base currency. Base currency is dollar, right? So always think in terms of the dollar. What is happening to the dollar? You need to sell yen means selling yen. If you're selling the yen, you need to buy dollars, right? So you're buying dollars. For the market taker, you're buying dollars at the offer. So you can sell yen at 102.95. Sell yen means buy dollars at 102.95. Next question. At what rate can you sell dollars? Dollar is the base currency. You can sell dollars at the bid. Sell the base at the bid, which is 102.90. So this should be your answer. Next one, you have been given sterling dollar 153.25, 153.30. If you were to write this in terms of pips, how would you write? One fifty three 25, 153.30. This pips 155.30. You have the market taken. You need to think in terms of base currency. So let's identify the base currency sterling. The base. At what rate can you buy dollars? First question. What rate can you buy dollars? Okay, so dollar is not the base, it is the counter. So you need to think in terms of base. If you're buying dollars, you need to sell yen, sell sterling. So you're selling the base at a bid. Buy dollars or sell sterling. At 153.25. Next question, at what rate can you buy sterling? So very straightforward. Sterling is the base currency. You can buy the base at the offer, which is 153.30. Then at what rate can you sell dollars? Sell dollars meaning buy, sell. At 153.30. So I hope this is clear. Next question. Euro dollar is 130.10.15. One thirty ten and 130.15. That's pips. So euro is the base. First step, identify the base currency is the euro. At what rate can you buy dollars? Buy dollars, think in terms of base currency. You need to buy dollars means you are going to sell euro. At 130.10 at the bid. You're going to sell the base at the bid. What rate can you buy euro? Buy the base at the offer. One. Sell. So sell dollars means buy euro. Again at the offer 130.15. Right. So series of questions. Let's try these questions. We covered all of these. Let's try this. Dollar yen 101.50.55. It means 101.50. To write the expanded version, it's 101.50, 101.55. We have euro dollar 131.75. 8. Expanded is 121.35 and 131. Right. So the first question. First, let's identify the base currency. Dollar is the market maker. Think in terms of the base currency. Let's say identify base currency. Euro and second one is dollar. First one is dollar, second one euro. Right. Now in this question, Q stands for quarter. A stands for ask. I'll give you a minute to attempt the questions on your own. Okay. So at what rate will the quarter sell dollars on dollar yen? Now you are not the market taker. You're the market maker, right? Quarter is the market maker. No? At what rate will the quarter sell dollars on dollar yen? Quarter will sell dollars. At what rate will Cargill sell mangoes, basically, on dollar yen? So they will sell at a higher rate at the offer. Quarter sells dollars at 101.55. Second one, at what rate will the quarter buy yen on dollar yen? It's a dollar yen. At what rate will the quarter buy dollar, buy yen? He will buy yen means he sells dollars. So he quarter or he sells dollars at, and he will sell dollars at 101. Third one. At what rate will the asker buy dollars on dollar yen? At what rate will the asker buy dollars on dollar yen? Asker, right? He will buy the base currency at the offer. So answer is 101.55. Fourth one, at what rate will the asker sell dollars on euro dollar? At what rate will the asker sell dollars on euro dollar? Euro dollar, the base currency is the euro. Selling dollars means he has to buy euro. Buy euro at the offer. At the offer, 131. Fifth one, at what rate will the asker sell euro and euro dollar? Asker sell euro. And so the asker will sell the base currency at the bid of 131.75. What rate the quoter buys dollars on euro dollar? On euro dollar. Quoter buys dollars on euro dollar. So quoter buy dollars on euro dollar means he's selling euro. Sorry, buy dollars on euro dollar means he's selling euro, right? He's the quoter, not the asker. The quoter will sell the base currency at the offer. Are we selling mangoes at the offer of 131? Okay. Number 7. What rate quoter sells yen? Sell yen means he buys dollars. Quoter sells yen. Quoter buys dollars at the bid, right? Kage is buying mangoes at the bid at 150. Number 8. At what rate will the asker sell dollars? On dollar rupee. So that has been given to confuse you because dollar rupee exchange rate has not been given, right? So it has to be dollar yen. What rate will the asker sell dollars on dollar yen? Asker will sell the base currency at the bid of 110. Yeah. So this is basically it. If you can get these questions right, you get the answers right, that means you have understood foreign exchange. You know how to pick a foreign exchange rate, right? Okay. So I hope this is clear. Why this is important is when you're quoting exchange rates, very important that you pick the correct rate. Right? Because if you quote the wrong rate, then you will make losses. You can't afford to make mistakes with foreign exchange rates. Because dealing ethics are such that once you quote a rate, you can't reverse it. Right? If you offer a rate, ethics are such that you cannot reverse. Right? So now these are huge transactions, massive volumes involved, and the markets are very volatile. So you can't afford to make mistakes. You make a mistake, you're going to make huge losses, right, which might not be able to recover. Remember the case of Nick Leeson? That was not a case of mistake, but fraud. But if you make mistakes, consequences can be quite severe. And imagine for a large transaction, you quote the wrong rate, the bank is going to make a huge loss. Right now, you all may have noticed on your exchange rate sheets, right? The rate sheet published by the bank, there will be three different rates. So, sorry, there will be four different rates. In fact, you'll have two main rates: buying rate and the selling rate. That is on rate sheets. So let's say dollars. There will be a buying rate and a selling rate. Now, in buying, you might have TT buying, demand draft buying, and currency notes buying. Selling, there will be one rate, one selling rate. So, which one is normally higher? TT buying is higher. Draft might be a little lower. Currency is also lower. So, draft TT buying, you might buy TTs at, let's say, 182. Draft buy might be less, 180, 175. Currency notes might be 180, 150. But there will be one selling rate, maybe 184. Okay. I'm just throwing out numbers. But the point is, why is TT buying higher than the rest? Why do you think TT buying will be higher than the rest? That is because what you take under TPs are already in the account. They have been realized funds. Right? Funds are already in the account. You only need to transfer the ownership, right, from the seller to the buyer. But funds are already in the account. But in the case of the draft, a draft will have to be sent for clearing, which will take some time, maybe 2 weeks, a month, but it will take some time. No. But on the other hand, you have to give the customer money today itself. You are giving customers money today, and the check will get realized in a few days, maybe a week or two. Right? So there will be an interest cost. So if the market, let's say, is 183, market is 183, right? The dollar rupee market is 183. You keep a 1 rupee margin and buy dollars at 182 from the customer. Now from this 183, you kept a 1 rupee margin. Then when it comes to drafts, there will be a holding cost, right? So you will be out of interest for some time, maybe 2 weeks, which has now this interest cost. If your borrowing cost is 10%, it has to be removed. Let's say 2 weeks, so 14 days interest will have to be charged from the customer. So you are removing a certain component. Right? So this is the interest cost, which has to be removed from the buying rate. Right? This is a cost to the bank. This cost will have to be charged from the customer. So it comes as a lower rate on the buying rate. Then currency notes buying. Now, currency notes are collected by the bank. Now, those currency notes cannot be used in the country. Right? So the only option for the bank is ideally to sell it to someone who is traveling abroad, or if that is not possible, they'll have to pack up everything, pack all the currencies, and export. That's called repatriation. Currency notes repatriation. most of the big banks are doing currency notes repatriation. That means they buy currency notes, and when it comes to a certain level, they will export it to Singapore, usually to Singapore. Sri Lankan banks usually send money to Singapore, right? Export to Singapore. So they will repatriate the currency notes to Singapore. Now, these currency notes are collected over a period of 1, maybe 2 weeks, right? So the bank will have to charge interest because the currency notes are accepted today, but the rupees are given to the customer immediately. So there will be an interest cost to the bank. It's kept for 2 weeks. Interest cost needs to be deducted. And for every currency note that is exported or repatriated, the bank doesn't gets a low amount. Now, for example, if the bank sends $1 to Singapore, one currency note to Singapore, $1 currency note to Singapore, the Singapore bank will accept currency note, and if it's not a forged note, they will accept it and they will credit the exporting bank's account, right? But only thing, they will charge a certain component. They will not give exactly $1. So if $1 is received by the Singapore bank, they will give only maybe 99.9%. So this into 99.9% is what is being given to the remitting bank or the bank that is exporting. That is also a cost. The 0.1% cost will also have to be charged from the customer. Right? So currency note calculation is slightly complicated, but if you look at it, it's very logical. You need to remove all the costs of the bank from the customer. You need to charge everything from the customer. So that is why the currency note buying rate is much less. Whereas when you start selling, when you sell, you can quote the same rate to all customers. Same rate. That is why you have 4 different rates usually in banks. For this reason, right? So I hope you understood. Right. Now let's assume that each of us are in the business of mangoes. We buy and sell mangoes, right? So we are now the market. Well, actually, let's say we are buying and selling mangoes. Our business is not banking, but we are mango traders, right? So we buy and sell mangoes. Okay, so let's say we started business today with an opening balance of mangoes of 0. Right. Opening balance, let's assume, is 0. 0 mangoes. No mangoes. We had no mangoes today, and throughout the day we did not buy or sell mangoes. What would be our profit? Right? If mango prices is currently 100 rupees, SL price is 100 rupees, then during the day if the mango price goes to 1000 rupees and close of business if it was 50 rupees, we have 0 mangoes throughout the day, we don't make a cent. We don't even lose a cent. Right? Nothing happens. But if we start buying mangoes during the day, so let's say we buy 100. I put plus to do not purchase of 100. 100 mangoes we are buying. Let us assume a price of 50 rupees. Right? Then in rupee terms, we are 100 into 50 minus, right? We have to pay rupees to buy mangoes, so we are short of 5,000 rupees. Right? Then let's say again, we bought another 50 mangoes at 60 rupees. We have, we are short of, we have paid 3,000 bucks. Now, if this was the only these were the only transactions for the day, we will close a closing balance 50, 150. We'll have 150 mangoes left at the end of the day. And the rupee position, we will be short of 3,000 bucks. Right? So, how do you calculate the average price of a mango? To be 8,000 divided by 1. Which is about 55.33. Price of a mango, our average cost of a mango, 53.33. Right. So, do we make a profit or loss? What do you think? Are we making a profit or a loss? It depends on the closing price of a mango, right? At what price does the mango close? So let's say the price of a mango at the close of the day was 100. Okay, so our average cost is 53.33. And the mango price at the end of the day is 100. So we have made a profit, right? How do we realize the profit? How do we calculate? You sell 150 mangoes at 100, we will make 15,000. So then you will be left with 0 mangoes and a profit of 7,000. That is your profit. Okay. That is an unrealized profit because you haven't sold it, unrealized. But if the price of a mango is 10 rupees, it's not 100, it is 10. Then you can only realize 1,500. You are selling 150 mangoes. You will get 1,500 bucks. So you will lose 6,500. And you will close. Again, it's unrealized because you have not actually sold. But if you sell at 10 rupees, you will make a loss. Okay. Right. Now, meaning if the price, average price is 53, and if the price goes up to 100, then you make money. Right. But if the price falls to 10, you will lose. Isn't it? Okay. So now my question is, if you have 150, if you bought 150 mangoes, your risk is the price going down. If the price goes up, you gain. Price goes down, you will lose. Up, you gain. Down, you lose. That is because you have bought 150 mangoes. Right. So buying an asset is called going long. you buy, then you're long. If you have bought an asset, you are long the asset. Right? So what do you mean by short? If buying is long, short is selling. Is it? Well, actually, if you sell, okay, right now, you're long 150 mangoes now because you're plus, you're long, right? So short would be to sell the 150 mangoes, isn't it? If you sell the 150 mangoes, are you short? The answer is no. If you sell 150 mangoes, right, if you sell 150 mangoes at 10 rupees, this will become realized loss. It becomes realized if you sell. Then you are left with 0 mangoes, 6,500 negative rupee balance. It becomes the realized loss. Okay. Now you're exposed to the price of mangoes. When you're exposed, if the price goes up, you gain. Price goes down, you lose, right? You're long. Now this exposure is called a position. Position is the exposure. In this case, your exposed or your exposure, in other words, your position is 150 plus. Right? It's called long or overbought. Then what do you mean by short? What do you mean by short? Short means instead of buying. If you sell an asset which you don't own, right now, for example, at the beginning of the day you had 0 mangoes. You didn't buy, but let's say you sold mangoes. Say you have been selling mangoes. A customer comes to you and he wants to buy mangoes, so you don't have at the beginning of the day, but you say, Mang house at Denang, and you sell mangoes. Right? You sell, let's say, 100 mangoes. You have sold 100 minus. Earlier it was plus, remember? Now it is minus 100. You are selling 100 mangoes. Say the price you are selling at is 100 rupees. You sell 100 mangoes at 100 rupees, you will receive 10,000 bucks. Plus. Then let's say you sell to another customer 50 mangoes at 200 bucks. Right? Another 10,000 you receive. Total at the end of the day, you have sold 150 mangoes at a price of 20,000. What is the average selling rate? It's 20,000 divided by 150. So this is your average selling price of a mango, 133. Now the risk is, what is the risk? Now you're short of 150 mangoes. Now you have to deliver 150 mangoes. You have sold at the average price of 133. Right? So for you to make a profit, you will have to buy it back at a lower price. So if you buy mangoes back at the price of, let's say, 50, you buy 150 mangoes at 50 rupees each, you will end up spending 7,500 and a profit of 12,500 you will make. In this case, your exposure is 150 minus. 150 minus. You have sold mangoes which you did not have. 150 minus. And when you purchase 150, your exposure to mango is 0. Right? And you end up with a profit of 12,000. So if the price goes down, if you are negative and the price, your exposure is negative and the price goes down, you make money. But if you have to buy price of 100, you will have to spend 22,500. ending up with a negative balance of 2,500. You lose 2,500, the price goes up, right? Okay, so that is because if the price goes up, you lose, price goes down, you gain. Because you were short. Selling an asset which you did not have is called short. Short. Over sold. Now in this example, let's assume you actually sold 150 mangoes. You bought 150 mangoes at price of 150. Right? So your exposure to mangoes is zero. And if you have no exposure, it's called square. If there is long, short, and square. If your exposure is squared, it's called, if your exposure is zero, it is called square. You are running a squared position. There is no exposure in this case. Right? So if you are long, your risk is the price going down. Then if you are short, the risk is the price going up. Which one is risky out of the two, long or short? Answer is short is riskier because if the price starts going up, what is the maximum price it can go up to? It is unlimited. Right? So exposed to unlimited risk, if you go short, your exposure is, or your risk is high if you are short. If you sell short, short selling is riskier than going long. I hope that was clear. Right. So moving on to trading positions. The position is where a trader's net position against the base currency. Right. He can be a net buyer or a seller, like in the case of mango. As a trader goes through the day, he buys and sells currencies at varying rates, leading to a net position. A long position is where a trader is net buyer of the base currency. Short position where he's a net seller of the base currency. So realized if the base currency position is zero, you have realized a profit. Profit or loss of a totally squared position, no open position. Unrealized the profit or loss of an open position compared to its average rate against the market. So let's try this example. Profit or loss is derived from the quoted counter currency, right? So my question to you is, if you want to make a profit, a trading profit at 8 o'clock, the sterling dollar rate is 158.50, and the sterling dollar at 5 minutes later becomes 158.70. Now, if you wanted to make a trading profit, what should you do? Okay, so take a minute and think about it. What have you got to do if you want to make a profit out of these two rates? So if you want to make a trading profit out of this transaction, the sterling rate at 8 o'clock is 158.50, and at 5 minutes later, if it's 158.70, rate is 158. 5 minutes later, it is 158.70. What should you do? So what has happened to the exchange rate? The exchange rate has increased. That means the base currency has strengthened. Sterling has strengthened. For you to make money, if the currency strengthens, you have to go long. So you should have gone long the base currency plus 1 million. If you had bought a dollar position, would have been minus 1 million. Dollar position would have been minus 158.50 dollars. Right? And the currency, the exchange rate goes up. So for you to square it off, you have to sell 1 million. Then you will realize you will get dollars 158.70. So you end up with 30% of 0 and 0.002 million dollars. That's about $2,000. You make $2,000. At 8 o'clock, you have purchased 1 million sterling. 5 minutes later, you have sold. You would have made a $2,000 profit. Right? But if you had done the opposite, 8 o'clock, if you had sold sterling, this is not plus, then this will be minus. At 8 o'clock, if you had sold sterling, you would have received $158.50. Then to square it off, you have to buy 1 million sterling, and you will end up paying $158.70 million. So you will end up with a negative $2,000 if you square off 5 minutes later. So this is what happens. Okay. All right. So let's try and calculate the average cost of this transaction. Let's calculate the average cost. You're buying 5 million sterling at 1.5. Then you're buying 10 million sterling at 155.60. And you're buying another 5 million, 155.40. Right. So if you buy 5 million, 155.10, you will have to sell dollars. How much? Dollar portion is negative 7.755 million. 10 million if you buy at 155.60, your dollar portion will be short of 15.5. And if you buy a further 5 million at 155.40, you'll be short of 'So if you close it out, you end up with plus 20 million sterling, a long 20 million sterling, and your dollar position will be 0.5 13. Average cost. It's 1.5517. You are long 20 million sterling at an average cost of 1.55. So this should have been 7.77, right? Yes, total should come to. It's 155.42. That is your average cost. Right. Now, how do you interpret this answer? You're long 20 million sterling at an average cost of 155.42. No sooner you see this, now this is where the real knowledge comes into play. No sooner you see this, you should realize that your risk is the sterling falling against the dollar. But if it goes down, you will lose. But if it goes up, you will gain. Let's try this. The next question. It's an Australian dollar question. You're buying 5 million Australian dollars, long 5 million Aussie dollars, 93.40. Then your long 10 million Aussie dollars, 93.25. You're buying another 5 million, 93.55. And you're selling 10 million, 93. So this is what you have done during the day. You buy 5 million Aussie dollars, 93.40, you're selling dollars, selling US dollars. For 5 million, 93.40, that's worth 2.67 million US. For 10 million Aussie, 93.25, you're selling 9.325 million US. And you're buying 5 million, 93.55 is your selling. $4.6775 million US. Then you're selling 10 million Aussie, 93.10. That means you're buying 9.310 million US. Next position, Australian dollars, you're plus 10 million. Then the US dollar position. $9.3625. Which means your average cost is 0.9362. Your plus 10 million Aussie dollars, your closing position is 10 million long at 9.362. Right? It says the closing Aussie dollar position is 93.89. If its closing is 93.89, you have bought at 93.60. You're long at 93.62. Closing is 93.89. So the exchange rate has gone up and you're long, therefore you will make money. Let's see if it's correct. For it to start off, you need to sell 10 million Aussie dollars. The closing rate of 93.89. You will receive 9.389 million US dollars. And to close it out, you will have a zero. $26,500 US dollars will be your profit. Right? Your profit. Remember, the profit calculation comes in the base currency, not in the base, sorry, not in the base, in the counter currency. Always your profit calculation, the profit figure will come in terms of counter currency units. Is on cross rates. Cross rate, like we studied during the previous session, a cross rate is where the local currency does not appear. Cross rate is where the local currency does not appear. Normal market practice is to construct a cross rate when the stronger currency becomes the base currency in cross rate pools, right? So you don't have to know that. Right. So let's try these examples straight away. Okay, I'm putting you in the deep end. Let's try these examples. You have been given euro dollar. Euro dollar and sterling dollar rates. Sterling dollar 1.5675. You've been asked to calculate euro sterling. Okay. Now, when we all work in grade 2, you were given something like this. Then you can expand it and write equal to 2 by 5 times 5 by 2. Isn't it? 5 cancels off. 5 by 3. You are left with 2 by 3. Okay. So you are putting a common number in the numerator and the denominator. Okay. The denominator and the numerator. Okay. Similarly, you can expand euro sterling also. You can say euro dollar and dollar sterling. Right, so technically the dollar cancels off, you are left with euro sterling. Okay, so what you have done is you are inserting a common currency in between, which is the dollar. Right, so now euro dollar directly given. Dollar sterling, is not given. What you have been given is sterling dollar. Alright, 2 by 5 to 5 by 3. 5 by 3 is also 2 by 5 into 1 over 3 by 5. Right, the same thing. I'm using the same theory here. It's euro dollar into 1 over sterling US dollar. Right, if I'm doing here. Sterling dollar has been given direct, which is euro dollar is 1.3356 1 over 1.5675. So you get an answer of So the next question. $N 98.90. Rupee 133.60. You have to calculate yen rupee. Again, you do the same thing. You put a common currency in between. In this case, the dollar. It is yen dollar times dollar. Now, dollar rupee has been given directly. So what you need is yen dollar. You don't have yen dollar. You have dollar yen. 1 hour dollar. Dollar. 1 over dollar yen is 1 over 98. Dollar rupee 133. It comes to 1.3509. Next question. Euro dollar is 133.56. And dollar rupee 33.60. What is euro rupee? Euro dollar. Dollar. So we are doing the same thing. Euro dollar. We are inserting dollar in between. Euro dollar is 133.56 into dollar rupee 133.60. Right. So this is theoretically how you do it, but there is also a shortcut. Now, something I couldn't mention at the beginning, when you did direct quotes, indirect quotes. Now, direct quotes, if you all could remember, it is uh, 1 unit of foreign currency in terms of local currency. But also, if you express in practice, right? That's in theory, but in practice, you put the dollar in front. Dollar in front. If the dollar is the base currency, it is called direct quote in practice. The dollar is not the base currency; it is called indirect quote. If the dollar comes as count, it is indirect. So these are direct quotes. Both of these are direct. All direct is indirect. Dollar is indirect, rupee direct. So if it is a indirect, both are indirect quotes. If there are two indirect quotes, the easiest way to get the exchange rate is one divided by the other. If both are indirect, you remember you need to divide. Okay. If you look at these two exchange rates, you will see that the euro is weaker than the sterling. And the base currency is euro. So you should get an exchange rate which is less than 1. So your euro rupee, sorry, euro dollar sterling, you have to divide because both are indirect. You need to divide. It will be 1.3356 divided by 1.3375. This is a shortcut. You get the same answer 8521. This is the logical way of playing. This is the shortcut. Here both are direct. If both are direct, remember if both are the same kind, either both are direct or both are indirect, you have to divide. Yen rupee. Again, you have to divide. If you look at these two exchange rates, you'll see that again the yen is stronger. Yen rupee will be more than 1. And if you have two different kinds, one indirect, other one direct, then you need to multiply the two rates. Here, euro rupee is 1.3356 into 133.60. That is how it works. Right. So remember, both are the same, divide. So both direct or both indirect, divide. Different kinds, multiply. Which is what has been given here, this slide. And this is what the slide says. Okay. So slight complication if there are two-way codes. There are two-way codes, meaning bid and offer. Let's get used to the shortcut. Again, euro dollar, sterling dollar. Both are indirect. Both are indirect, so you need to divide the rates. Divide the rates. Euro is weaker than the sterling, so the rate exchange rate of euro sterling should be less than 1. You need to divide euro rate by sterling rate. Now there are 4 different rates, no? 133.55, 133.60. Then you have to divide by either 156.75 or 156.8. So there are 4 different possible combinations. Either you can divide 133.55 by 156.75, or you can divide 133.55 by 156.80. Then the other option is to divide 133.60 by 156.75 or 133.60 divided by 133.80. 4 different combinations. Which one do you use? You have to get a bid and offer, so you have to use 2 out of the 4. Now remember, when you divide, your bid should be as low as possible, and your offer should be as high as possible. How do you divide and get the bid as low as possible? Take the lower number in the numerator, which in this case should be euro, so its lower number is 133.55, and the higher number in the denominator, which is 156.80. Then you get the bid. Offer, you need the highest possible offer, so it's 133.60 divided by 156, the lower bid. Right. Denominator should be the lower number. Okay, so you need to divide across. So remember, they are the same kind. Both are either indirect or both are either direct. You need to divide, and when you divide across. is what you get. Next example. Okay, so you need to divide across to take the lower bit divided by the higher upper, lower bit divided by the higher upper. Again, when you divide across, the upper will be the higher, the upper of numerator upper divided by denominator b. You need to divide across. Next example. 98, 85, 90. So both are direct, meaning you have to divide. When you divide, you need to divide across. You asked to calculate the Canadian LPR. Canadian is stronger, meaning the exchange rate should be more than 1. So it has to be the rupee rate divided by Canadian. You have to divide across. So bill will be 133.25 divided by 98. Offer will be divided across 133.30 divided by 98. Remember, if they are the same kind, you have to go across. So you have to arrive at the lowest possible bid and the highest possible. Right. So indirect, direct, you need to multiply. When you multiply, When you multiply, you need to multiply not across. Remember, you need the lowest possible bid, highest possible offer. So you go straight down. Huh? Euro rupee, lowest possible bid will be 133.55 into 133.25. Highest possible offer 133.60 into 133.30. $177.96. 178, not 9. Right. So let's work on these examples. A German importer, first one, a German importer would like to buy sterling in terms of euro. At what rate can he buy from the bank if the following market rates prevail? You have been given that the euro is the base currency. Right? German importer would like to buy sterling in terms of euro. So his base currency is euro. What rate can he buy sterling? You need the euro sterling rate. He wants to buy sterling means he will be selling euros. Okay. Selling euros and buying sterling. You have to sell euro. So you have to go for the bid. Remember, euro is the base currency. He will be selling the base currency at the bid. So it's lowest possible figure is 132.20 divided by 158. Point 8305. Next question. A Sri Lankan tea exporter would like to sell his euro receivables. At what rate can he sell if the following market rates prevail? Euro dollar 132.20.25 and dollar rupee 132.50.60. Sri Lankan tea exporter, meaning he gets euro. Right? He wants to sell the euro. At what rate can he sell? He'll be selling, euro is the base currency, he'll be selling the base at the bid. So you need to calculate. This is indirect and direct, so you need to multiply. If it's euro rupee, if you multiply 132.20 by 132, it will give you the rate. $175.17. Okay, so arbitrage. Next area is on arbitrage. What is arbitrage? Arbitrage is about making a risk-free profit, a profit without taking a risk. Now, if you all could remember Nick Leeson of Barings Bank, he was supposed to make arbitrage profits, right? That means to make a profit without taking a risk. Okay, what I best way I could explain is if you take the price of an identical commodity, right, the identical an identical asset being sold in two different markets at two different prices. And if an identical asset is priced in two different markets at two different prices, there will be arbitrage opportunities. Okay, meaning there is a price discrepancy. One market is overpriced, other one is underpriced. Example, let's say Galle and Colombo. The price of a mango in Galle is 10 rupees, and if the price of a mango, the same identical mango in Colombo is 100 rupees. If you are smart enough, you can, what you will do is, you will start buying mangoes from Galle and you will sell it in Colombo. Right? Then you will make a clean profit of 90 rupees. Isn't it? Buy from Galle, sell in Colombo. 90 rupee profit. So you are not taking a risk, you are just buying and selling. Eyes closed, you make money. That's called arbitrage. You are making a risk-free free profit, risk-free profit. Okay. So why arbitrage doesn't always work is everyone starts buying from Galle, then the demand for mangoes in Galle will go up. When the demand goes up, the price also goes up. So the price in Galle will start going up, and everyone starts selling mangoes in Colombo. Price in Colombo will come down. Eventually, these two will merge, so that there is no arbitrage opportunity. Right? That will eventually happen. Then there can be taxes. Taxes, market adjusts, transaction costs. Because you will have to transport mangoes from Colombo to Galle. Sorry, from Galle to Colombo, right? If you sell in, what happens if you buy from Colombo, sell in Galle? Then you make a loss. That is called charity. Okay? So that is how arbitrage works, right? You make risk-free profits. Okay, so continuing. Now, given these exchange rates, HSBC 98, 55, 57. Citibank 98, 55, 58. JP 98, 56, 59. BNP 98, 58, 60. Are there any arbitrage opportunities? How can you arbitrage? That means you have to, the same asset being bought and sold in different markets at different prices. Can you make a profit without taking risk? What are your thoughts? Right. Now, bid and offer, right? You should take the highest possible bid and the lowest possible offer. What is the highest possible bid? 98.58. Lowest possible offer? 98.57. If you look at these two rates, there's something wrong, no? Bid is higher than the offer, which cannot be, right? Remember, Cargill's selling mangoes. If they buy mangoes at 150 and they sell at 100, they make profits. Same thing here. You can buy dollars at 98.58 and if you sell at 98.57, you make losses. It should be the case. So there is arbitrage. No? You can keep buying at 57 and you can sell at 58. You make profits, right? So what you can do to arbitrage is you buy at 98.57. Buy dollars at 98.57. And you can sell dollars from HSBC. You buy from HSBC at 98.57, then you sell dollars at 98.58. Arbitrage. You're buying at 57, you're selling at 58, you make 0.01 yen. It's in yen terms, right? The counter currency is yen. 0.01 yen is your profit for each dollar. So imagine if you do $1 million, you make about a 10,000 yen gain. That is how you make arbitrage profits. Are there any other arbitrage opportunities? No. The next highest you can buy is 58, then you have select 58. Right? So that's it. Only one arbitrage opportunity. Okay. Selecting the best bank. Right. Now, if you want to buy or sell foreign currency notes, if you want to buy, you will go to the bank which gives the lowest possible offer, right? You will call several banks and then you will agree to buy from the bank which is quoting the lowest. Likewise, if you want to sell dollars, currency notes, you call several banks and you sell currency notes to the bank which is offering the highest rate, isn't it? That's how you select the best bank. You take the bank that is willing to sell at the lowest and the bank that is willing to buy at the highest. Yeah. So let's see how it works. Okay, so this is the scenario. You have been given the euro dollar rate quoted by four different banks A, B, C, and D. A is quoting 134.2530, B 134.3136, C 134.2429, and D 134.3237. Right, so big figures are the same, only the pips vary. Now, what is the highest possible bill? $134.32 quoted by D. And the lowest possible offer? $134.29, which is offered by C. Once again, the bid is higher than the offer. So there is arbitrage. Arbitrage opportunity is there. Right? You can continue to buy at 29 and sell at 32 to make arbitrage gains. Right? So where will you prefer to buy euros? From C at 134.29, you can sell to D at 134.30. Arbitrage. Buy from C, sell to D. You can also buy from C, sell to B. Arbitrage profit will be low, but nevertheless, there is an opportunity. Then you can also buy from A and you can sell to D or to D, isn't it? Yeah. Buy from A, sell to D. Buy from A, sell to D. Still arbitrage. Right. Okay, so you'll prefer to buy euro from C, and you prefer to sell euros to B. It presents an arbitrage opportunity also. The next question, something similar. This time it is dollar rupee. Let's try that. For banks A, B, C, and D, A is quoting 130, 45, 50. B is quoting 130, 43, 48. C is quoting 130, 44, 49. D is quoting 130, 46, 51. So these are the exchange rates quoted by four banks on dollar rupee. Now this is dollar is the base. It's a direct quote. And the question says, where will you buy dollars from? $5. And whom will you sell dollars to? Right. So what are the lowest bids and offers? The highest bid and the lowest offer. Highest bid, big figures are the same. So you look at the pips, 45, 44, 46, 130, 46. That's offered by D. Lowest offer 48. 130, 48 offered by D. Highest bid and lowest offer. So that is where you prefer to do your transaction. Buy dollars from the lowest offer. 130, 48. Then you sell dollars at the highest bid. 130, what is this? Simple as that. Okay. I hope that was clear. Right. So we have again run out of time. We will stop here, and next week we will continue with the forwards. So if you had any questions on today's session, we will meet on the 29th on a live session. Right. So if you have any questions from today, you can always ask me the questions, get things clarified when we meet on a live session on the 29th. But having said that, these are not rocket science. I hope it was clear. Right. Okay, so right. Thank you very much, and we will meet during a live session on the 29th. Thank you. Stay safe.